shout out to Ben Davis for his video where he talks about his tech choices going into 2024. That inspired me to create one of my own tech choices videos here. And watch his video if you haven't, and you'll see some interesting overlap between my choices and his, but also some key differences. We're going to get into it, but before we do, just a little bit about me so you understand why my choices are what they are. In my 9 to 5, I'm an application architect. So my tech is specifications, diagramming tools, meetings, whatever other tech the team I'm supporting is using. So this video is more about my 5 to 9 projects, my after hours, fun, and personal projects. That being said, I do own my own business that some of my personal projects ultimately find a new home in. So there's a chance and a goal that one day they can support me full time. I'm saying this because I want you to know where I stand with my tech and my long-term expectations for those choices. So really, my goal for 2024 is to standardize on a few key pieces of tech that I can use for the long term. I really want to feel productive with that tech too. I don't want to spend time not producing something. And that's hard for me because some of my favorite tech, like Scala in the past, allows me to define really rich and elaborate type systems. I could spend all day writing tight type systems, but not actually producing a working application from it. And given that this is my 5 to 9 and not my 9 to 5, and I have a family and I don't spend all of my 5 to 9 working on projects either, the point I'm getting at is I don't have a ton of time for these things, so I want to be as productive as I can while I'm working on them. So the first one probably is of no shock to anyone whatsoever, but it's Flutter. So last year I put out my first game in Flutter. It's called Memories of Sheol. It's written in pure Flutter, and it's kind of what I would consider to be an early access state. It's available on the App Store for 99 cents for iOS and Android, and it's a barcode scanning dark fantasy RPG. There's really a lot to it, and it's pretty unique. That's written in Flutter. So I will definitely be carrying Flutter forward in 2024 to maintain that game and add new features and functionality to it that I have in mind. Also, any mobile products I plan on putting out in 2024, they're going to be Flutter. I've tried React Native. I've done pure native before. Flutter is the sweet spot of productivity and flexibility that I need to do what I want to do as quickly as I can. And Flutter is great for that. Fun fact, I would choose Flutter and Dart for everything for that reason. But the reality is the Dart ecosystem is just not there. Server-side Dart is in a not super great spot at the moment, but it's better than last year. And last year was better than the year before it. So maybe one day I'll just pop on for a video in 2027 and say I'm just doing Dart from here on out. We'll see. The second thing is Svelte. SvelteKit, Svelte 5, when Svelte 5 comes out, I love it. So I have a list of things that I want to research, both for my 9 to 5 job, but also just for personal interest. And Svelte was the very first thing on the list, and I started researching it. And when I did, I fell in love with it. So I have not made any more progress on the rest of the list yet, but some other items are like Solid.js, Astro, and well, there's quite a few more, but I plan on still researching those, but I don't plan on them taking over for Svelte. I'm just super productive in Svelte and SvelteKit. And how did I find that out? So I try to build something small in every new tech that I'm learning. I don't just watch videos or read the docs. I always try to build something. And I built a conferences CRUD application that allows you to sign up with GitHub for authentication. And I built it in SvelteKit, and outside of like a weird edge case issue that I shouldn't have ran into, but I did because of another choice that I'll get to in a minute. I mean, I had the thing up and running and deployed in days, and this was me learning Svelte at the time too. So I've done a little bit more since then. I'm actually working on another project that is a courses platform, so it'll be available at courses.bradseipert.com. Soon, where I am planning on doing free and paid courses. So you can come learn from me if you like the way that I teach. And there's plenty of videos on my channel where you can get an idea of how I teach. Outside of those two things right now, though, and some projects that have were used for experimentation, I guess, I just plan on using Svelte for any other web projects that I build. It's fantastic. The community is good, the support is good, and I really like the accessibility checking that gets built into the Svelte compiler. That helps me out because accessibility is not my strongest area. I know it's important, but it's hard to realize the things you don't know, and Svelte helps with that tremendously. Okay, so what else? Go. I still like Go. It continues to be my language of choice for tooling. So if I were to build command line interfaces or something, I'm probably going to use Go. If I build a web API, my thoughts were that it would be written in Go. So if I were to build, an API that supports a Flutter app, or maybe an API that's external to my SvelteKit application, and that needs to exist somewhere, I would probably write it in Go. Until Bun. I've been noodling around with Bun for a bit now, and I really enjoy it. My main concern with Node is around the developer experience, and Bun solves those problems for me really, really well. First-class support for TypeScript and hot reloading being built into the runtime is really all I need, but it's something Node hasn't done yet. I looked at Dino for a bit for kind of the same reasons, and a lot of the way that Dino worked felt a little too foreign for me. The way script imports work, the way that they generally have you import, it's a common practice to import all of your dependencies to a deps.ts file, and then you import the deps.ts file everywhere. It just feels a little wrong. And I found that Bun is not having the same problems. It's a little more familiar to me from the Node side of things, but it solves my complaints with Node too, which is really, really nice. Where I plan on hosting these things, it really depends. Sometimes I host on DigitalOcean. I'll take a VM, I'll make it my own. I actually saw a tweet on today where someone was saying that people who manage their own virtual machines are just masochists, I guess. I do this less and less, so I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. Sometimes I want the flexibility. Sometimes I want to pay $5 a month to run an application server and a database because I know that the application's not going to get a ton of traffic and can handle it. Maybe it's just for me. That being said, I have been deploying a lot on Render, and I really enjoy Render. It's sort of a platform as a service where you can just kind of connect your GitHub repo and deploy a wide gamut of things. And if what you're wanting to deploy is not supported, like I was trying to deploy a Bun app, you can just build a Docker file, and it'll run the Docker file and run that container for you instead. In fact, they also recommend doing that if you have certain requirements about the container that it's ran in, because the platform as a service piece will ultimately build a container for you if there's not one provided, which is nice. I also am looking at some cheaper alternatives. Render's not necessarily expensive, but a friend of mine recommended a site called Railway that does hosting. I was looking at it the other day, and the pricing is somehow more clear and less clear at the same time. So I'm kind of figuring that out, but it's also cheaper, so that's another option. And that being said, both Railway and Render have free tiers, so if you're just hacking around on something and you want to deploy it, get it to prod. I believe in you. Pick one, send it to production, keep iterating. You can worry about the price or where it's hosted whenever that actually becomes a problem, and what a good problem to have. The last thing is Vercel. I want to do more with Vercel. I know that Vercel and Render have a lot of overlap. It's my understanding that Vercel's innovating a lot in a lot of different spaces, and I would like to just learn more about them and see what they have. I don't know if I'll end up using them, but I might. And then I'd kind of like to standardize on that too. My personal website, bradcypher.com, is a static website that is hosted on Netlify. My business website, pyrestudios.com, hosted on Netlify. I don't really use Netlify for anything else anymore, and it's nothing against Netlify. I've just branched out into these other areas, and it's kind of a pain trying to remember where every site is hosted and logging into those management consoles. So maybe I'll just put a link in every project's GitHub repo so I don't have to remember, or maybe I'll try to standardize on something like Render or Vercel, or maybe Railway. We shall see. So yeah, I think that's mostly it. I don't plan on any major hardware changes. I might get a new MacBook, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. My M1's still working fine for the most part. It actually was in a really bad spot for some of the videos that I was recording with Flutter, where the MacBook would start Flutter, and we'd start an iOS simulator, and the Flutter virtual machine would boot up, and it was just really bad. I was trying to run OBS on that and record while that was going on. Starting a Flutter app for the first time would just bottleneck my CPU to 100%. The video would get really choppy. So it was a really bad experience. I found a solution for that. I have an old capture card that I used for my Nintendo Switch for a while. I now have that connected to my MacBook, and then that's running to my desktop gaming PC that has a graphics card and the CPU to really knock it out the park with that type of stuff. So I don't know if I'll actually need to upgrade my MacBook. So I guess that's really it. I don't have a lot of new tech that I'm planning on building into my actual workflows. I'll still continue to explore new tech. That's one of my favorite parts of being in tech, really. But I am trying to focus more on shipping a couple things and actually getting things complete. My list of projects keeps growing, and it's growing faster than I can complete them. And the way I see it, when you start a new project, you choose to learn a new piece of tech or a new domain. You don't choose both. And for me, I want to be able to allocate as much brain power as I can to learning a new domain, like course management, instead of learning a new piece of tech like Astro. However, if I was building like a CRUD app or something I've built a bunch of times over and over again, that's a perfect opportunity to try new tech like Solid or Astro or whatever. So yeah, this year, less new tech, more knocking out projects that have made it on that list. If you want to see the progress of those projects, don't forget you can subscribe to the channel. I am trying to do more content in 2024 as well, both on my blog and in video form. So come hang out and let me know your thoughts on these projects. I may even look at streaming some too. So if that happens, I'll make an announcement and let you all know. I think that's it. What are your plans for 2024? New tech, same tech? Let me know in the comments below.